When you envision the nightmares of the 41st millennium, your mind naturally drifts to the endless swarms of the tyrannid hive fleets, or the blood-soaked axes of chaos space marines. You imagine worlds burning in the atmospheric fires of an exterminatus, and the deafening roar of billions crying out in terror. But the true horror of the Imperium of Man is not found on the bloodied battlefields. It is found in absolute, suffocating silence. Now consider this. The greatest threat to humanity's fragile survival isn't a sudden demonic incursion tearing through the fabric of reality. It is a simple, singular miscalculation, a misplaced decimal point jotted down by a decaying, exhausted mind. Welcome to the grim reality of the Administratum Scribe. In a galaxy consumed by eternal war, the lifeblood of the Emperor's realm is not just courage and bolters. It is a villa and the crushing weight of infinite bureaucracy. To be an Administratum Scribe is to exist as a forgotten biological cog in a machine so vast. It has entirely lost sight of its original purpose. You are not a celebrated hero. You are not a genetically enhanced warrior. You are merely a fleshy processing unit, tasked with calculating the apocalyptic death tolls of worlds you will never see, and tallying the tithes of billions of souls who mean absolutely nothing to you. The soul-crushing existence of an Administratum Scribe in Warhammer 40K is, in many ways, a fate far worse than a quit. Honorable death on the front lines. It is a slow, generational nightmare where human life is measured strictly in quotas, and those quotas are always paid in blood. Before we decode the horrifying, labyrinthine architecture of this silent meat grinder, make sure to subscribe and activate the notification bell. You wouldn't want your records to be purged by the Inquisition, would you? Imagine being born in the shadows beneath a rusted desk. You live your entire 80-year lifespan under that exact same desk, staring blindly at a mountain of data that dictates whether a distant hive city starves or a space marine chapter is left without ammunition. And when your eyes finally fail and your lungs fill with toxic parchment dust, your child will simply take your seat. This is the suffocating dark we are about to uncover. To comprehend the nightmare of the scribe, you must first understand the physical scale of their prison. The Adeptus Administratum does not operate out of mere office buildings. They occupy continent-spanning complexes, and in the case of Holy Terror, entire planetary layers. These are megalithic structures of brutalist Gothic architecture, designed intentionally to belittle the individual. You are meant to feel microscopically small, because to the Imperium, you are statistically irrelevant. The primary environment of this torment is the scriptorium. Imagine a canyon, but instead of rock, the walls are formed by towering, precarious mountains of files, scrolls, and humming data slates. The air in these endless halls is tangibly thick. It is a suffocating miasma of melting sealing wax, the ozone tang of failing phospholumens, and the inescapable sour stench of billions of unwashed bodies. These halls have remained unchanged for 10 millennia, caked in the grime of history. In this sunless world, nature is an entirely alien concept. A scribe born into the lower substrata of an administratum nexus will never feel the warmth of a real sun. They will never feel rain against their skin, or breathe air that hasn't been recycled through millions of diseased lungs before them. The very idea of a blue sky is a myth, a dangerous delusion whispered only in the suffocating dark between shifts. Their entire universe is defined by the dim, flickering glow of their workstation. You are surrounded by millions of your peers, packed shoulder to shoulder in endless rows, yet you have never been more profoundly isolated. The ambient noise of a scriptorium is maddening. It is the deafening, ceaseless scratching of millions of brass-nibbed quills, punctuated only by the web. Hacking coughs of workers dying slowly from chronic parchment dust inhalation. There is no daily commute in this grim existence. Your desk is your entire world. It serves as your workstation during your grueling 18-hour shift. your dining table for your meager ration of nutrient paste, and the hard surface you sleep beneath when exhaustion finally claims you. To leave your designated sector without high-level authorization is considered desertion, a crime swiftly punished by brutal reprogramming. Consider the psychological impact of this space. The architecture itself is actively weaponized against the human spirit. The vaulted ceilings are so high they disappear into a layer of toxic, indoor smog, constantly reminding the scribe of the crushing weight of the imperial hierarchy pressing down upon them. They are not citizens of a proud empire. They are biological fuel, shoveled relentlessly into the roaring furnace of bureaucratic necessity. This is the ultimate architecture of despair. It is a perfectly engineered trap where generations of humanity are bred, utilized, and discarded without a single glimpse of the galaxy they are supposedly helping to maintain. When a scribe inevitably dies at their desk, their body is simply dragged away, and the next nameless worker steps into the void. The unfeeling stone remains, patiently waiting to consume the next trillion souls. In the 41st millennium, the old adage states that the pen is mightier than the sword. But within the Adeptus Administratum, the pen is an instrument of profound psychological torture. The daily existence of a scribe is entirely consumed by the physical act of documentation. There are no grand strategies or heroic interventions here. There is only the endless transfer of data from one fragile medium to another, an eternal cycle of transcription that binds the Imperium together. Consider the physical strain of this relentless task. The scribe does not use advanced digital interfaces. The Imperium distrusts artificial intelligence, favoring analog, tangible records. You are equipped with heavy, cybernetic autoquills or brass-nibbed pens, dragging them across coarse parchment for 18 hours a day. The repetitive motion slowly destroys your joints, curling your spine into a permanent, agonizing arch. Your body physically adapts to its subjugation, mutating into the perfect shape of a desk-bound slave. But the true horror lies in the materials themselves. You must understand that in the Imperium of Man, nothing is ever wasted, not even the dead. The heavy, cream-colored parchment you write upon is known as vellum. But this is not the animal hide of ancient terror. In the resource-starved hives and administratum complexes, traditional livestock is a non-existent luxury. So, what exactly are you writing on? The terrifying reality that much of this vellum is biological. It is vat-grown skin, or far more frequently, the recycled dermis of deceased imperial citizens. The macabre recycling processes of the corpse guilds ensure that every part of a human serves the emperor. You might be recording the starvation of a distant hive city on the very skin of someone who died in that exact famine. The paper itself is steeped in human suffering. Now, look at the ink staining your calloused fingers. Standard Administratum ink is a thick, acrid substance, engineered to survive millennia of decay in deep storage vaults. But for high-level declarations, tithe assessments, or casualty reports, the ink is often specialized. It is routinely mixed with genetic material, iron-rich compounds, and yes, even human blood. You are literally writing the history of the Imperium with the blood of its people. What exactly are you writing? The data streams are incomprehensibly vast. You might be tasked with processing Unitorum supply requests, agonizingly calculating the exact number of Laskan power packs required for a siege that ended 3 centuries ago. Because warp travel and astropathic communication are notoriously unreliable, the information you process is often wildly out of date. You are actively managing the logistics of ghosts. The numbers you deal with are paralyzing. A scribe does not record individual deaths. They record percentages of planetary populations. You are casually processing casualties in the billions. Entire generations of soldiers, wiped out in a single orbital bombardment, are reduced to a minor deduction in column Gamma 7. To survive this soul-crushing reality, you must completely detach. You must sever your own empathy, viewing human lives purely as abstract numerical values. But what if you fail? What if, in your exhaustion, your hand slips? The pressure of perfection is absolute and terrifying. A single misplaced zero, a smudge of ink on a transit coordinate, can doom entire star systems. If you accidentally miscalculate a grain tithe, a hive world of 50 billion souls will starve to death in the dark. The blood of entire planets rests on the tip of your fragile, trembling quill. If such an error is traced back to your desk, the punishment is not mere termination. The Imperium does not waste resources on firing people. You will be dragged from your station by the Arbites and brutally lobotomized. Your body will be heavily augmented, your mind wiped of everything out the necessary protocols, and you will be returned to the very same desk as an unconscious, cybernetic servitor. This constant, looming threat of violent servitorization breeds an atmosphere of suffocating paranoia. You do not speak to your neighbor. You do not question the data. You only stare at the flickering glow of your lumen globe, straining eyes that are slowly going blind in the perpetual gloom. Your lungs rattle with the chronic disease known as scribe rot, brought on by inhaling the microscopic flakes of dead skin that drift from the endless scrolls of vellum. It is a profound, existential isolation. You are entirely surrounded by the machinery of humanity, yet you are completely dehumanized. The Administratum does not see you as a person with hopes, dreams, or a soul. You are a biological processor. You are considered an expendable asset, ultimately cheaper to replace than the heavy brass autoquill bolted to your right hand. Before we delve deeper into the terrifying psychological consequences of this bureaucratic nightmare, take a moment to ensure you are subscribed to the channel. If you appreciate these deep dives into the darkest, most terrifying corners of Warhammer 40K lore, leaving a like and a comment helps appease the algorithm machine spirit. Now, let us return to the dark heart of the scriptorium. The stripping of your humanity is a deliberate, systemic process. It is not an accident of the bureaucracy. It is a requirement. An emotional scribe is a liability. If you pause to weep for every world lost to the tyrants, or every regiment sacrificed to the war, the system would collapse. Your soul must be systematically crushed into dust so that the cold, calculating engine of the Imperium can continue to turn. You are, in essence, a living machine. But unlike the sacred mechanisms of the Adeptus Mechanicus, your flesh is not revered. It is despised for its weakness, its need for a sleep, its requirement for a sustenance. The Administratum views human biological functions as inefficient interruptions to the workflow. You are starved, beaten, and pushed to the absolute limits of physical and mental endurance, simply because flesh is the cheapest resource in the galaxy. The most agonizing realization for a scribe is the sheer futility of it all. You are painfully aware that your work will never, ever be finished. For every scroll you complete and seal with wax, 1,000 more are dumped onto your desk. It is a Sisyphean torment of cosmic proportions. You are trying to empty an ocean of data with a rusted spoon, knowing that the storm of war will only bring more water. This is the true definition of a life measured in vellum and ink. It is an existence completely devoid of meaning, color, or hope. You are born to be a silent, suffering witness to the slow decay of the human species, recording the apocalyptic decline of the Emperor's realm one excruciating keystroke at a time. The pen is indeed mightier than the sword, for it has the power to erase your very soul. To truly grasp the abyss of this existence, let us observe a singular event. We will call it the tragedy of Sector 4 Gamma. But do not expect a tale of weeping scribes or dramatic realizations. In the Administratum, tragedy does not wear the face of sorrow. It wears the face of absolute, chilling apathy. The erosion of the human soul is not loud. It is the quiet, methodical scratching of a brass-nibbed quill against dead skin. Imagine a mid-level Lex mechanic deep within the orbital spires of terror. For 40 years, his entire existence has been tethered to evaluating agricultural tithes for a subsector on the galactic fringe. He has never seen wheat. He does not know what a harvest smells like. He only knows the numerical values required to feed the endless meat grinder of the Astra Militarum. Today, a catastrophic discrepancy arrives on his crowded desk. An astropathic report, filtered through layers of bureaucratic translation, states that an agri-world in Sector 4 Gamma has suffered a devastating planetary blight. The crop yield has plummeted to absolute zero. Millions are already dead from starvation, and the planetary governor is begging for a relief fleet. The scribe reads this desperate plea, stained with the psychic blood of the astropath who received it. But he does not see dying children or mass graves. What does it look like when 1 billion people die in Warhammer 40K? It doesn't always look like a glorious last stand against the Tyranids, or a horrific demonic incursion tearing the sky apart. Most of the time, the apocalypse is entirely silent. To our scribe in the scriptorium, the catastrophic starvation of an entire world looks like nothing more than an inconvenient subtraction in a dusty, leather-bound ledger. It is a mathematical error that must be corrected. He calculates the deficit. Rerouting a grain fleet to save those starving billions would delay the critical supply lines to an active war zone by exactly 4.2 weeks. The Administratum algorithm dictates that the war zone holds a higher strategic value. Without a flicker of emotion, the scribe simply strikes a line through the dying planet's designation. He deletes the world from the imperial supply chain. With a single, dry stroke of his pen, he condemns billions to a slow, agonizing death. He does not pause to mourn. He does not whisper a prayer to the God Emperor for their doomed souls. He merely balances his spreadsheet, seals the parchment document with hot red wax, and mechanically moves on to the next file in the towering pile. This is the ultimate, terrifying reality of the Imperium of Man. A galaxy where human life is so incredibly cheap. Its extermination doesn't even warrant a heavy sigh. This complete stripping of empathy is the true horror of the scribe's existence. He is not evil in the traditional sense. He has not fallen to the insidious whispers of the ruinous powers, nor is he taking malicious pleasure in the slaughter. He has simply been hollowed out. The system has surgically removed his capacity to care, replacing his humanity with a cold, relentless adherence to the imperial quota. He is a monster forged entirely of parchment and ink. If he were to feel even a sliver of guilt, the psychological weight of his daily decisions would instantly shatter his fragile mind. To survive the scriptorium, you must become the very desk you sit at, wooden and feeling and completely deaf to the screams of the universe. The billions starving in Sector 4 Gamma are merely numbers that failed to align, and in the dark, suffocating halls of the Administratum, numbers are the only things that truly matter. Some might argue that being an Administratum Scribe is a rare blessing. In a universe where billions are brutally shredded by tyrannid swarms or tortured for eternity by the Dark Elder, sitting at a desk seems like a miraculous sanctuary. You are shielded by the impenetrable orbital defenses of Holy Terror, or the heavily armored layers of a towering hive city. You will never face a howling orc or stare into the maddening eyes of a warp spawn. But is this truly safety, or merely a slower form of execution? This illusion of safety is perhaps the cruelest trick the Imperium plays upon its vast administrative workforce. To be safe from the bolter and the chainsword does not mean you are actually alive. You are merely surviving in a permanent state of suspended animation, a living corpse that breathes just enough to continue pushing a pen. You are entombed within the monolithic walls of the scriptorium, completely insulated from the physical horrors of war, but equally isolated from any spark of joy or human connection. Consider the tragic life of a frontline Imperial Guardsman. Their lifespan on the battlefield is often measured in brutal, bloody hours, but in those chaotic final moments, they experience adrenaline, visceral camaraderie, and the tangible reality of defending their species. They see the terrifying or inspiring vastness of the cosmos. The scribe experiences absolutely none of this. Their war is fought against a suffocating, endless tide of parchment, a battle they are mathematically guaranteed to lose. Stretched agonizingly over 8 decades, many philosophers within the Inquisition would secretly argue that a sudden, violent death in the mud of a trench is infinitely more humane than the prolonged psychological starvation of the scriptorium. The guardsman dies a single death. The scribe dies a microscopic fraction of an inch every single day. Their soul slowly evaporates into the stale, recycled air of the Nexus until absolutely nothing remains but muscle memory and raw, unthinking obedience. They are the silent casualties of a war waged against their own humanity. And if that mechanical muscle memory ever falters, the grand illusion of safety shatters instantly. As we have established, the Adeptus Administratum does not tolerate the slightest inefficiency. If your daily output drops, if the excruciating pain in your spine slows your autoquill, you are not offered rest. You are brutally evaluated. Falling below the imperial quota means your conscious existence is abruptly terminated, and you are hardwired into your desk as a mindless servitor, forever trapped in the very nightmare you failed to survive. In the most suffocating layers of the scriptorium, employment is not a choice, nor is it a drafted assignment. It is a terrifying genetic inheritance. You are bound to your workstation by birthright. The concept of upward mobility, or even lateral movement to a different department, is a complete impossibility. Your destiny was written in dried ink centuries before you drew your first breath. Imagine the bleak reality of a scribe's childhood. There are no nurseries or schools in the lower substrata of the Administratum Nexus. You are quite literally born in the cramped, shadowed space beneath your parents' workstation. The very first sounds you hear are not lullabies, but the deafening, eternal scratching of millions of autoquills and the rhythmic thumping of data stamps. This oppressive noise becomes the soundtrack of your entire existence, a mechanical heartbeat that you will eventually learn to mimic perfectly. Your education is as brutal as it is efficient. You are not taught to understand the galaxy, or to appreciate art, history, or philosophy. Instead, you learn to identify numerical patterns before you learn how to speak. Your parents, exhausted and broken by their 18-hour shifts, teach you how to decipher the complex High Gothic numerals used in tithe assessments. You practice writing on scraps of discarded, bloody vellum, preparing your small hands for the heavy brass instruments you will inevitably wield. When you finally come of age, the transition is seamless and utterly uncelebrated. There is no graduation or ceremony. Your father simply collapses from scribe rot or terminal exhaustion, his body dragged away to the corpse guild processes, before his seat has even lost its warmth. You are ordered to sit down. You do not mourn. The quota does not allow for weeping. You pick up the exact same quill, coat it in the grime of your ancestors, and begin to write. The most mind-bending aspect of this generational curse is the work itself. Because of the sheer, incomprehensible scale of imperial bureaucracy, a single file can take centuries to process. You are not starting a new project. You are simply continuing the exact same document that your great-grandfather began 100 years ago. You will spend your entire 80-year lifespan calculating the transit logistics of a single crusade, and you will die long before the final sum is ever reached. In this system, your individuality is entirely erased by the continuity of the task. To the merciless overseers of the Administratum, it does not matter that for different generations of a family have worked on this single scroll. The handwriting must remain identical. You must meticulously copy the exact penmanship of your ancestors, abandoning your own stylistic quirks. To the Imperium, Your family is not a lineage of humans. It is simply a single, continuous biological machine that occasionally replaces its own parts. Consider the profound psychological weight of this legacy. You look down at the curling edges of the vellum and see the trembling, faded ink strokes of your mother's final days, right before her lungs gave out. Your own handwriting seamlessly blends into hers, a morbid tapestry of familial sacrifice. There is no escaping this haunted archive. Your family tree is not a record of living beings, but a grim inventory of worn-out tools, permanently catalogued within the archives of Holy Terror. This generational curse ensures that the Administratum never pauses, not even for a heartbeat. It is a closed loop of absolute despair, a parasitic ecosystem where families feed themselves into the grinding gears of the Imperium just to survive another day. You are born under the desk, you bleed onto the parchment above it, and you die knowing your children will inherit the exact same suffocating dark. It is a lineage built entirely on dust, ink, and silent suffering. So, we must ask the most chilling question of all. Why does the Imperium allow this monstrous system to continue? The horrifying truth is that this soul-crushing bureaucracy is not a symptom of a failing empire. It is the very foundation of its survival. While the Space Marines and the Imperial Guard bathe in the bloody glory of the front lines, it is the silent, suffering scribe who truly acts as the engine of the Imperium. The Imperium of Man spans over 1 million worlds, populated by uncounted trillions of citizens. Without the Adeptus Administratum, this colossal, decaying structure would shatter into 1 million isolated pieces within a single day. The ruinous powers of chaos or the endless swarms of tyrannids would not even need to invade. Humanity would simply starve itself to death in the dark. The ink of the scribe is the only adhesive holding the galaxy together. Consider this for a moment. A single Imperial crusade requires incomprehensible logistical support. It demands billions of tons of Prometheum fuel, millions of stamped Laskins, and oceans of corpse starch rations. An Imperial Navy fleet cannot even initiate a warp jump without the astropathic coordinates being recorded, cross-referenced, and physically stamped by a lex mechanic. The excruciating pain of the scribe is the little fuel that propels the Emperor's war machine across the stars. But what if the Imperium simply automated these tasks? Why rely on frail, decaying flesh when a massive cogitator bank could process the numbers instantly? The answer lies in the deep, paranoid history of humanity. The trauma of the Men of Iron, the devastating rebellion of abominable intelligence ensured that humanity would never again trust a thinking machine. Therefore, human minds and human bodies must serve as the mechanical cogs. The cruelty is entirely intentional. When a scribe meticulously records a planetary tithe, they are not just performing simple math. They are enforcing the iron will of the Emperor upon a chaotic, uncaring universe. Every drop of blood mixed into their ink is a localized sacrifice, mirroring the daily sacrifice of psychos to the Golden Throne. The Administratum is a dark temple, and the scribes are its unwitting martyrs, crucified on desks of rusted iron to keep the void at bay. This brings us to the ultimate, grimdark paradox of the Administratum Scribe. As an individual, you are utterly insignificant, a completely disposable piece of biological trash destined to be ground down into parchment dust. Yet, collectively, the unending torment of the scriptorium is the only barrier standing between the human race and total extinction. Your erased soul, your ruined hands, and your silent agony are the terrible, absolute price of mankind's survival. As you prepare to close this file and step back into the light of your own world, remember this: the scratching of the quill never truly stops. In the darkest, most claustrophobic depths of the 41st millennium, billions of forgotten cogs are still working. They are hunched over their rusted desks, breathing in the ashes of their predecessors, mindlessly calculating the terrible, unending cost of human survival. There are no marble statues carved in honor of the Administratum Scribe. There are no epic ballads sung for the men and women who starved their own souls to feed the Emperor's war machine. They are the ultimate embodiment of the grim darkness of the far future. It is a universe where humanity has successfully conquered the stars, only to permanently enslave itself within an endless, inescapable labyrinth of paper handing. If you survived this descent into the suffocating madness of the Adeptus Administratum, prove your loyalty by leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. Share your thoughts in the comment archives below which faction or horrifying reality of the Imperium should we decode next. Until then, guard your mind, trust in the God Emperor, and never, ever lose your paperwork. The Inquisition is always watching.